I didn't even notice. In this picture, ooh, I don't know if I can show that. Oh, that's good. Up there, no, you can't have my cinnamon roll. Hello, good morning. Today we're gonna read some stories from my favorite coworkers and friends about just their time in the OR or their time in the nursing profession in general. And I've learned there's quite the audience out there that wants to hear about the gruesome work stories or like the crazy work stories, and I'm gonna try and give some to you. They're pretty funny and pretty bad. They're pretty bad. So let's start off with one of my friends that started off as an L&D nurse. L&D means labor and delivery. So we're gonna read off one of my friends who used to be a labor and delivery nurse. A stat C-section, and suddenly the patient started feeling everything. So we had to put her under general sedation. So I was circulating and had to hold cric pressure for the anesthesia attending. So cric pressure is like on your cricoid. So she had to hold cricoid pressure. With my other hand, I had a sterile glove to push the baby up through from under the drape vaginally to the surgeon. I started hemorrhaging, and I was one of the 2 nurses trying to do a mass transfusion, and that was my last day in L&D. Bite break. Coffee break. Multitasking. That's what we're doing today. I'm efficient as hell. This is one of my good friends who I actually met on a traveling assignment. And she's now coincidentally in the OR as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures, but I had a patient who cut off his penis. He did meth and started hearing voices that told him to cut off his penis because it was infected with COVID. He said they threatened to hurt his family if he didn't do it, so he took his pocket knife and chopped it right off. He said he regretted it immediately and called 911. He was actually weirdly calm and pre-op and with the cooler right beside him. They actually ended up being able to reimplant it, but it ended up looking like a Frankenstein penis after they finished. Oh no, don't do meth, kids. Don't do meth. Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs in general. You'll cut your penises off. I also had a psych patient in Eugene that was from prison who was so creepy. He had 2 guards with him and was handcuffed with both legs and arms to the bed. I had to give him meds, but they had a spit guard on him, so they took it off. I was like, F that. I'm not putting my hand anywhere near this guy's mouth. And he started saying how cute I was and complimented my haircut, so I made the guard give him the meds while I got the hell out of there. And I only went in there when I absolutely needed to because he gave me serious creepy vibes. I never looked up why he was in prison, but I knew it would creep me the hell out. This one's a little sad. I mean, not a little sad, it is sad. I'm gonna warn that now. It's very sad. But it's important that we share these moments too, because a lot of people, especially when COVID first started, and a lot of people were saying like, you signed up for this. Like, I didn't sign up for half the shit, the horrors I was gonna see or experience. So one of my most memorable horror stories from the OR wasn't even on my own patient. I was floating that day and decided to help my friend set up her room for a minimally invasive esophagectomy. I helped count with the scrub, open things, move the patient over to the OR bed, etc. I was basically in there all morning. I ended up giving the circulating nurse a lunch break in there as well, which towards the end of the break, the patient's blood pressure started looking a little wonky and they were delaying the procedure until the anesthesia was able to get the blood pressure under control. By this time, the circulating nurse had come back and I had left to go grab my lunch myself. He had sat down and heard that dreadful anesthesia stat over the announcing system. So an anesthesia stat in the OR is like a code blue. Basically, it's you don't want to hear it, and if you do, go see if they need help, run to it, and then if you aren't helping, get the fuck out. Sorry. Coming from the room I was just in, I rushed back to the room and I see a bunch of anesthesia people at the end of the bed, 2 nurses doing compression and 2 more nurses holding the drapes up to separate the sterile field from those behind the drapes doing compressions. And the surgical team working vigorously as blood poured onto the floor, filling up suction canisters. In this current moment, I didn't exactly know what happened, but I knew I needed to help. I started making phone calls, requesting the book Walter from downstairs, calling for blood from the blood bank, checking the blood with other nurses, opening supplies. During the chaos, the phone rang and it was blood bank requesting another type and screen on the patient if we could provide that. I'm like, no, we're actively coding. She also asked if another cooler of blood was ready, and they said yes, someone can come pick it up right now. We're not ready. The person that went to go pick it up to wait an extra 5 minutes, which seemed like forever. It seems like, if you've done compressions, or if you haven't done compressions, heads up, 30 seconds feels like forever. After 40 minutes of transfusing blood, performing chest compressions, and doing all the things to save this patient, the surgeon decided to call it. And to hear those words, "Does anyone have any objections to calling it?" my heart immediately sank, and I thought, no, we're not done yet. We have to save this guy. There's so much more we can do. After no objections, the surgeon called time of death, and everything and everyone kind of fizzled away, and people carried on with their day. What an intensely sad moment. I was in shock and didn't know exactly what to do. I had talked to others in the room and found out that surgeon was performing a basic move with the robot, dissecting tissue, and nicked the aorta, in which blood splattered all over the camera scope. They immediately undocked the robot and tried to control the bleeding, but it was too late. This had been the first time I was in a patient room when they called time of death. It was scary, sad, shocking, overwhelming, and even though the leadership isn't always the greatest on our unit, they were extremely supportive during this time. They called and talked to each person in that room to see what they needed, how they could support, and how they could help. I really appreciated them that day, but what an experience I never want to go through again. That's bananas. It's such a toll to see another human die. It just is. Unfortunately, if you are in this field, maybe mentally prepare yourself that that's going to happen one day, and even when it does happen that one day, it's something you thought wouldn't happen, and if it is too much to process, which it likely will be, please talk to other people about it. Talk to a professional, talk to a family member, talk to a coworker, talk to your managers. That's what they're there for. Because that's just, it's a toll. It's a freaking toll. You don't sign up to watch people die. You don't sign up to put your blood, sweat, tears, heart, soul, everything into it and then die. Anyways, let's move on to something happier. One of my friends used to be an ER nurse before joining the OR. So she's got a ton of ER stories, and I'm sure there's a shit ton more out there that y'all can share with me, and I would love to hear them. One time I had a patient in the ER try and exercise me. Somehow got a hold of a pencil or a marker and drew crosses all over the walls and kept throwing holy water on all the employees. Or there was a time I watched another psych patient drink his own urine in the hallway. The good one was when I was in the ER and EMS brought us a patient who was found in the bathroom of Walmart huffing multiple bottles of keyboard cleaner / spray. EMS brought all of the bottles with the patient and set them on my desk. When I finished settling the patient into his room, I came out to my desk to see my manager using the keyboard spray on my computer. I yelled at her to stop, but she said we might as well use the rest of it. Or one time we literally had a lady deliver a baby standing in our triage area, and our doctor had to kneel / squat to catch the baby because she could not and would not sit down until she delivered. It was wild. One of the pictures someone else sent me is the aftermath of a motorcycle accident. Whew. Oh, I didn't even notice. In this picture, ooh, I don't know if I can show that. Can I show that? I mean, it's covered, kinda. Okay, maybe I will. I don't know. Who cares? So a guy wanted to go on a joyride in the middle of the night on his motorcycle and got T-boned by a truck. One of his legs got amputated at the scene, and the other one had to get amputated later that week. Both arms were completely crushed and amputated, and the limbs are in a red bag, which I didn't read that when she first sent it to me. It's in the top right corner. Oh my god. See, y'all, this is prime example. Like, this isn't even just the hustle and bustle and peak of the moment where it actually happens. It's the aftermath. Oh, and this isn't even like that dirty. I've seen worse, but this is pretty bad. One of the pictures I posted on Instagram, if you don't follow me, find me on Instagram. I did a poll to see if you guys wanted to hear gruesome stories and see some gross pictures. And of course everyone's like, hell yeah! One of the pictures I received is, and I'll post it here, is a picture of, believe it or not, an ovary. That bucket in that picture, it's a huge ass bucket. So for an ovary to fill, an ovary should be that big. Filling up a bucket like this is quite something. And I think this patient, from what I remember, came in for a procedure called a HIPEC. So basically, they have cancer in their body and they take out all the cancer they can. Then they infuse chemo into their cavity, sew them back up temporarily, and then just like shake them back and forth. Hour and 40 minutes of just shaking bacon back and forth. Some poor resident has to stand there the whole time and do it. And so that, I think, is from a HIPEC procedure. So I have a picture from a hemicorpectomy that happened recently, meaning they took everything from the waist down off this patient. It's usually for multiple reasons. Usually there's like some terrible infection, or like from gangrene, or X, Y, and Z reasons, but they're just very, very sick. And so they took off bottom half, I'm not even showing you, I'm doing this, bottom half of their body. Should I show these things? I know you guys want to see them, but I feel like they're really not something you want to talk about over cinnamon rolls and coffee. But I don't mind it. Maybe you don't mind it either. The last one I wanted to talk about, this huge, huge tumor, which starting off, like, this lady was within childbearing years and came in and was very like in denial of this huge, huge belly on her. And we're like, okay, interesting. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, it's weird, let's just ignore it, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, well, you're here, you're not pregnant. And that looks huge. Belly, her skin, purple. It's purple. Her skin is so taut, so tight from that tumor, it is purple. Bad sign. Bad sign. She's still in complete denial of all this, which, like, everyone copes differently, like, to each their own. But this lady was in just complete denial at that point. Her tumor, y'all, at the end of this was like between 15 and 20 pounds. This was a 120-pound woman to begin with. We took out a good portion of her mass, her body mass. And as soon as our doctor's holding it, he's literally like, he has to put some like oomph into holding it. One, it's slippery, but two, it's like, holy crap, this is huge. You get like a Home Depot bucket. It fits in a Home Depot bucket. That's how big it is. And I had to lift it up with both arms to put it on the scale. Freaking heavy. But also my favorite day, because I love those stories. I love sending pictures to my friends and being like, look at this. And they're like, oh my God, stop sending me pictures. I'm never gonna stop. I'm just gonna send you picture after picture. Anyways, I know I didn't really pack like I intended to while talking to you guys, but I definitely multitask in eating my food and drinking my coffee at the same time. So that's something. I'm glad you had coffee with me. It's gonna be a pretty busy week, moving around, getting things situated, and moving to a different home temporarily. We're moving out of Colorado and going back home to Texas for a couple of weeks to say hi to family and friends and get things in order to ship out for our next travel assignment. Stay tuned for where that is, because even I don't know where it is yet. Hopefully it comes around soon. Let me know down below what you want to see, what you want to talk about next week. I'll try my best to put a video up. Again, my Instagram handle is Operation Evan. If you want to go ahead and subscribe to this channel here, I post every Thursday and talk to you guys about all things traveling, travel nursing, gory stories like today, and you guys take care. I'll see you next week. Bye.